Sarah, this is a great day for us to be recording Ice Planet Barbarians because I am literally living in that world.
Yeah. You're in a cold thing.
I have the day off of school because of
You
cold.
you have the day off of school. An ice storm is about to hit the American South.
Gosh,
I mean, good luck to
no,
everybody down there
no,
because
it's
I
really
did
scary.
see.
Yeah,
I mean, everybody is trying. In the week before a snowstorm. Right now, you all will be listening to this after the snowstorm has hit, so we
sure.
don't know really what's happening. But in the week before a snowstorm, they really make a meal out of it on news.
Oh yeah,
And it's because they're like, what else? And I really think they all sit around in the newsrooms and they're like, what else can we tell people about this storm that we don't actually know what it's going to be yet.
Sure.
Right? Because it's like 100 hours out. We know there's going to be something, but like, what will it be? And yesterday there was this thread going around, a screenshot from a newscast where they measured the weight of the ice in golden retrievers.
I really saw that and was like, is that AI? Like, what happened there?
No, I showed it to Eric and everybody. If you follow Fated Mates anywhere on the internet, and you should follow us on Threads and Instagram at Fated Mates Pod and on Blue Sky at Fated Mates, because periodically, Eric, well, no, not periodically, often Eric will create an image related to the podcast episode. And like, really, it doesn't get better than New Year's Milk and Eve. But part of me understands it because it's like, if you live in, with apologies to people who live in, our listeners who live in like Mississippi, you don't spend a lot of time thinking about what ice weighs.
Yeah, sure.
Right? Like, for you, I say to you, oh, the trees are going to be covered in a half an inch of ice. And you're like, well, how much? What could it?
So
what could it be?
I've seen a half an inch before.
It's one banana, Michael. and I think what they were trying to stress that a tree covered in an inch and a half of ice.
Okay, I got you.
Was going to be bearing like this massive amount of weight. And then I honestly think there was an intern like who was like, that's like 160 golden retrievers.
And they were like, funny, let's do it.
They were like, make that graphic. And Eric was like, no, as somebody who like does make these graphics for the podcast, I don't think this is AI. I think this is just like a dork in the newsroom who is bored out of their mind with the news about this impending storm that nobody knows what it is.
Yeah.
So anyway, and then I guess we all kind of vaguely understand the weight of a golden retriever.
Sure. Intuitively.
And also now you get to see a picture of golden retrievers in trees, which is silly.
You know what? That's nice though. Okay, that makes sense. I was like, wait, what is this?
What's happening? This is a new measurement. This is like the new administration has thrown away the pound system.
Yes.
Now we're measuring things in the weight of golden retrievers.
I mean, horsepower, why not golden retriever weight? Same energy.
Exactly. A return to another age.
Well, and listen, it is no joke. I mean, we here in Chicago are suffering under extreme cold. It's funny because one of the reasons we don't have school when it's this cold, because I know a lot of places have colder weather, right, is because so many of our students in the city are taking public transit. And so
they walk to school.
They walk to school. And so this is so cold that you can get frostbite from being outside for like 8 or 10 minutes. And that could be how long you're waiting on a corner for a bus. And so anyway, and
anybody who's ever known a child over, who's able to dress themselves knows that they are not able to dress themselves warmly. And not for lack of trying on the part of parents.
No.
Listen, I want to give a shout out to Magnificent Firebirds in Minnesota.
Oh, yes.
Because you guys are doing the fucking work. And right now, Minneapolis is on a general strike.
It's really inspiring.
Like a bunch of unions and students and small businesses are closed and doing the job of protesting. Just, I don't even have words for it.
Yeah,
ghoulish, monstrous, evil, vile behavior. We are watching from afar. We are watching from our cities. Jen has, seen Chicago. We are girding our loins for it here in New York.
Yeah.
But man, you guys are brave, and I'm kind of in love with I did not understand your game, Minnesota, and now I deeply respect it.
So today is the day of the general strike. So it's January 23rd when we're recording. And I put on Blue Sky, and it is going to be days later when you finally hear this, but I will open this up to you if you still want to do it. You can go find this post. I am giving romance recommendations, essentially like if you buy the book from Tropes and Trifles, which is a Minneapolis bookstore, or an usebookshop.org to support your own favorite indie in the Twin Cities, or if I recommend something that's like ebook only, which is pretty common in the romance space, essentially there's a really cool like sort of website that has tons of like places you can donate to in Minnesota. So if you hear this and you want to participate, just like find that thread and reply to it or send me an email, and I would be happy to do the same thing. You don't even have to like prove that you did it. Like, I believe in you and I trust you, but it's just like, how can we support, when you're far away, like that question of like, how can we support each other is always so key. And I think that this is something that like the thing that Chicago taught us and the thing that Los Angeles taught us, and now that Minnesota is teaching us, is that like really people don't want this. We don't want fascism, right? We want our communities to stay whole, and we want to support each other. And when you see people doing that work, it's beautiful and inspiring. And so when you're far away, it's kind of like, well, what can you do? Well, you can donate to the people currently like in the middle of it. You can support the local, like Tropes and Trifles is open today. They will not sell a single book online or in their store. It's just like community gathering, which I think is amazing. And so, you can support those people, but also, start building your community yourself. This will be everywhere.
Yep.
And so that's the other thing, right? When you look and you're like, okay, how are these people organizing? What can I do now so that we are ready to when ICE comes to our town or our city? So anyway, I don't know, everybody, romance really keeps me going, but it's the romance community that really keeps us going. So
Yes,
we love you all.
we do. I want to shout out 2 other bookstores that people have flagged for me because
Okay.
Tropes and Trifles is giving away pins and free whistles for people in Minneapolis. And then there's another bookstore in the Twin Cities called Black Garnet Books, which is a Black-owned BIPOC bookstore with a broader selection, not just romance, but they do have a very extensive romance selection, and they're also doing that kind of community work. And then I want to talk about, I just want to name Birch Bark Books.
Oh, yeah.
Which is
Louise Airdritt's bookstore.
cool, which is Indigenous owned, celebrating Native stories, art, and culture. So you can buy books from them, but also you can buy art and other items from them, Indigenous made art from, and they are doing tremendous community work all the time, but especially right now, leaving space for people to come in and be a part of their community. So that's Birch Bark Books. And we'll put links to all these in show notes.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And then, you know what? I think also just like find other ways. Somebody had posted on Blue Sky, like a woman who was essentially like had an Amazon cart that was just like a wish list of like hand warmers and toe warmers for people protesting in this frigid cold. And I was like, great. That to me is always really satisfying. People have heard me say this, like I love donors choose. I'm like, I want to know that the stuff I'm giving, it's like zero, it's immediate. And so I'm sure there are like lots of people on your social media channels or in your networks who are also just like, it's like a really direct way to support something, like, right? Like send 1,000 hand warmers to people and you will know that you've done some good today. So, I know that, but my point here is like, it doesn't always have to be about money, right? Like there's another, organization that's just like, targeting Minnesota companies and like sort of writing to them and telling them like what, why you are going to not sort of shop in their stores anymore if they don't start supporting their citizens. So, I mean, even if you don't have money to give, you have time to give, there's lots of ways to like sort of do this, and action is the way to help you feel more inspired and more hopeful to keep up this fight, which is really just starting.
I just gave a bunch of money to an organization called Monarcha, which I will put information in show notes about. It's basically a coalition in Minnesota that provides training and resources to community members who are doing work protecting immigrants and the people who are being pursued by ICE. And I will put information about that in there. But again, community action. They are looking for volunteers. They are collecting food. They are collecting, there are tons and tons and tons of opportunities. Maybe we'll put some others in show notes as well.
And like I said, any of these types of things that you're inspired by, you could probably find a similar thing in the place where you live, right? So just figure out how to be in community with people now.
My in-laws live in Fresno, California, which is a red place in California. And, obviously they feel very much like, well, what can we do here? Like California's blue, Newsom has come out, everybody's doing their thing. And, we have been talking so much, my husband and I have been talking so much with them about, we understand that you're looking at, the president and you're saying like, how can we stop him? And it's like, you have local, you live in a red district in, yes, a blue state, but like that means you have real local work that needs
you can be doing. Yeah.
And so, we've been talking about how Indivisible is doing small scale community action. And obviously in places like New York, Chicago, Minnesota, Indivisible is doing massive scale stuff, but like Indivisible is doing small scale stuff all around the country.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just, I don't know, we've been saying it for years, but community. Anyway, we love you, Minnesota.
Oh, wait, can I say one more thing, Sarah, before we start talking about these blue aliens? February is coming, and there tends to be a lot of romance events in February. And I have 2 local events that I am pretty excited about. I'm not going to get super into the details now, just check in show notes. One is, I am super excited about this. In early February, I'm going to be doing an event with a woman who has written a WNBA romance called Rooting Interest. And the author's name is Kat DeSebasto. And we are going to be at Babe's Sports Bar, which is a women's only sports bar.
Fun.
Hello. And so I'm really excited about that. And then later on in February, I will be doing a talk in Romeoville, which is like a Chicagoland suburb. So if you're ever like, why does this lady never leave the city of Chicago? I am going to be leaving the city of Chicago to be giving a talk about romance at the White Oak Library. Thank you, everyone, for your support. So that is the WNBA one is February 12th. It's an evening event during the week. The Romeo Library event is a Saturday morning, the 21st, I think. So just check show notes for those details. And, this is a good time to go to romance events.
It is. If you are a heated rivalry fan, which, who among us?
I don't know who isn't.
I've never met a single heated rivalry fan. If you are one, and you live anywhere near Philadelphia, you definitely maybe want to spend your Valentine's Day at the Heated Rivalry in the Library event at the Parkway Central Library with Zio Axelrod, Rosie Dannon, and Joanna Shoup, 3 of our faves here. So there's lots going on. And then since we're just doing it, if you are in Rhode Island, or anywhere near Rhode Island and you love historical romance, which I know for a fact there are people who do, first tickets are available now for, on the first weekend of March. On the 7th of March, I will be, in Bristol, at Linden Place, which is a estate house. It's very lovely. With Caroline Linden, Adriana Herrera, Joanna Shoup, and others. And the whole day is historical romance fun. Kate Canterbury's coming to moderate a panel, so it'll be really fun. And you can get tickets to that somewhere, and links will be in show notes.
This week's episode of Fated Mates is brought to you by the Romantasy Letters, promoting an exciting new romantic fantasy experience by bringing magic back to your mailbox.
I love the idea of this. I love mail. I love getting cool things in the mail, and this is really that. So the concept here is that you'll be told a broad romantasy story over the course of 12 months, 2 letters every month straight to your mailbox, and the letters will include all sorts of unique collectible items and additional text for you to read to really embed yourself into the world of this story. This story is a classic romantasy tee-up. It's called A Treaty of Hearts. A mortal king and a fae starweaver are bound by a blood treaty, and what begins as duty for them ignites into a dangerous, slow burn passion that could unite their worlds or destroy them both. And I think one of the especially cool things about this is that this is all written by real authors. It is designed by real artists, and you'll get stickers and sigils and journal entries and coded messages so you can play along and watch these two people fall wildly in love.
So if you would like to check it out, you can visit their website at romantasyletters.com, and you can use the code FADED for 20% off your year subscription. If your podcasting app supports it, you can click on the chapter title right now to be taken to their website to check it all out, where they have also, you can see some cool images and other things that will let you get a sneak peek in at this very cool item. Thanks to the Romantasy Letters for sponsoring this week's episode.
This is Fated Mates. Welcome, everyone, to Fated Mates. I'm Sarah McLean. I read romance novels, and I write them.
And I'm Jennifer Prokop, a romance reader and editor. And this week we are talking about Ice Planet Barbarians.
I can't believe we haven't done this episode, by the way.
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
Halfway through the book, I was like, we surely have done this book before. And we have not. All right. But it is a delight. So.
It is a delight. So, okay, everybody, this series has been around for a long time, right? And it has spawned, several, a whole entire galaxies of books, right?
4 million books.
Listen, you're not going to be sad. And
Ruby Dixon writes fast.
Yes, fast and furious. And so I think part of the reason we never did it, Sarah, is because, and I think we'll link to this in show notes too, our friend Danny had an Ice Planet pod that was happening in the late 20-teens, because that, we were all so into it at the time. And then all of a sudden TikTok discovered it, and we're all like, excuse me.
Like romance podcast.
Oh, yes. Yeah, there were
everybody had a podcast.
Yeah, right? So you and I
we're
each
still here.
You know what? Stay jealous, everybody.
I'm jealous of them.
No, you're not. You love talking to me about romance every week. Everybody, she's on deadline and she's cranky. Just stop.
And I hate everything. I cried about a house plant yesterday. It's fine.
Okay, listen, everybody. Listen, Sarah, this is all really everyone self-inflicted. She truly hates herself because she always does this to herself. And every year I'm just
process.
It's your process. But, you can grow and change. Anyway. It's funny. The first year I was like, oh man, Sarah is really going through it. And now this many years later, I'm like,
anybody who knows my writing process, in fact, probably most of the people listening right now are like, shut up.
Exactly.
Shut that bitch up.
Self-inflicted.
We've heard this before. It's not very sympathetic, but. Anyway, okay. Danny, it was the heyday. Danny had the Ice Planet pod.
Yeah.
And we were both on Ice Planet pod.
And so I think that's why we didn't do it. Somebody else had already done it, right?
That's Danny's
pro
business.
had been in action.
Exactly. And so I feel like I was on the first wave of Ice Planet Barbarians, because I can remember recommending it. I feel like I don't even know if we knew each other.
I reviewed a book for the Book Queen that was sort of fantasy-ish, and I was like, I think you should read Ice Planet Pod Ice Planet Barbarians instead. So I don't know if you recommended it to me, because that might have been one we both knew about. Yeah,
I think this might have even predated us.
Yes,
is what I'm saying.
No, I think so
because but I do remember I got it from Sophie Jordan, who I don't know where she got it from, but like this was like early enough in this world where like you could still like one book could like just shatter everyone all at once.
Yes.
So it came out and I was and Sophie called me and was like, oh my God, I just read the most insane book ever. And I was like, hit me with it. Because obviously...
This was 2015, everybody.
Yeah, this predate... I mean, please.
Yeah.
I had a 2-year-old. So, and I was like, okay, give it to me. And she was like, all right, let me paint you a picture. And she was like, you know, a spaceship full of women, of, you know, questionably... of fertile young women have been abducted by aliens onto a spaceship. And I'm like, of course, like this is Sophie Jordan catnip.
Right.
Like Sophie also recommended Hold to me. So like this is all on brand. And she was like, and there are these terrible people. They're all like in a cage on the ship and they're being kind of tortured by these terrible alien creatures. And it turns out they're going to be sex trafficked. And I'm like, what is happening? And she's like, and there's like one character and she's the heroine of the book. And she's like, she decides she's going to fight them. And there's this whole back and forth. And then the ship crashes on a planet full of ice. And I was like, okay. And she's like, but they don't have any food. They don't have anything. And like, they've pooped in a bucket. Like she's like covered in feces and like, there's no food. And I'm like, what is this book?
And you're like, and you're recommending this to me. Why?
And then she's like, I have to go outside. Like, I have to be brave. We have to survive. And she goes outside and she walks like an hour and then she stumbles upon a gigantic blue alien who immediately is like, I'm going to go down on this creature. Like, what? she's like, it's going to be great. You're going to love it. And sure enough, I mean, I immediately downloaded this book because I was like, how? What? And Sophie was like, Sarah, the world building is so good. You're going to love it. It's so good. And then she said, and I've already read 6 of them. Because Ruby put out like the first like 5 or 6, like one right after another.
I was really drawn when Sarah said we should do this book. Like part of the reason I said yes is I do feel like when we do read along books, when we do deep dive books, we tend to pick sort of like kind of straight down the middle. Like, I don't know, like, but this really does live in the bonkers side of the romance continuum.
It sure does.
It's really fun to like talk about these books, right?
Not to put too fine a point on this, but this book is the reason why monster romance had a revolution.
Yes.
It is the trailblazing monster. It took paranormal and it reinvented it as like these like big, soft, caregiving
love pussy
goobers who want to eat you out.
Here's the other thing though that this book did. I'm gonna mea culpa on this because I never would have fucking believed that this would happen. Ruby Dixon sold the print rights to Berkeley and kept her digital rights. And I was like,
bless.
And I was like, excuse me. I said this. I was like, whomst among us is going to buy a print copy of a book that they can read in KU for free 99? And the answer is millions of you dumbasses. And I love you. So,
but let me tell you, let me qualify, because the book slaps.
Yeah.
Like, it's so good.
But I think like the whole idea that like...
Also, that cover was great.
Yeah. The whole idea that you could get essentially like publishers now looking to Kindle Unlimited as sort of like their slush pile was also an invention of Ruby Dixon, right? Like she really was the one who, I don't know, rode that wave right into, I hope, a swimming pool full of cash.
That is my hope for her as well, because these books are so fun.
They're so fun. They really are.
And I think part of the reason why they are so fun and part of the reason why this book particularly is so special is because it's very clear that Ruby Dixon understands the beats of a good romance novel. This is not the work of an amateur. And also has this kind of real skill in terms of writing. Like this book is very cleverly written. And not just the plot or the structure or whatever, the actual sentence work is very clever. And we'll get to it, I think. But I think that is why this book has sort of transcended whatever else was in KU at the time, because it's very good. It's very well done. This week's episode of Fated Mates is sponsored by Denise Williams, author of The Redo List.
So Willow experienced all her big firsts, of course, with her high school sweetheart, but now reeling from their very public breakup, she wants to redo all those important moments. So while dog sitting for her brother during his deployment, she has a chance to essentially start everything over. After deciding that the person who is right to do these with is Deacon, her brother's best friend. Now, Deacon promised his best friend Cruz two things when Cruz left for deployment. One, that he'd look out for Willow, and two, that he would keep his hands off of Willow. So Operation Redo is kind of dangerous for him. Now, it starts off innocently enough. He likes Willow. He wants to help her any way he can. But then those firsts start turning into seconds, thirds, and fourths. This pair cannot get enough of each other, but there's
dummies.
Right? There's an end date. Cruz is going to be coming back to town, and then what's going to happen? Deacon doesn't know. Can he choose between Willow or his best friend? And
no, Deacon.
With no more romantic moments on her list for them to redo, can they make some new fresh starts together?
Amazing. Well, if you love a brother's best friend story, this one is for you. You can get The Redo List right now, wherever you get your books, in print, ebook, or audio. And if your podcasting app supports it, you can click on the chapter title to be taken to buy the book. Thanks to Denise Williams for sponsoring this week's episode.
I think the thing that we're always sort of dancing around is romance is a huge driver of publishing. It now produces thousands of books, it feels like, a week.
Yep.
And so what has staying power is always a really interesting question. And you know what? It's kind of fascinating that here we are 10 years later and we're okay, yeah, we can do Ice Planet Barbarians. And everyone is going to be super excited about it because this book is one of those books, right? It has real staying power. And so I think it's just, and listen, I've reread this book
a lot,
yeah. Right? I have because it's going to deliver me exactly what I want every time. And every time I am just as delighted reading it again.
Yes.
Right? I will say this, now Sarah has already mentioned this. I do think that tonally, the beginning, right, when they're trapped in the bad aliens cargo hold, it is truly upsetting. It's dark. And then I think though it's really a powerful way to then show the kind of different world that they're catapulted into.
Yes.
And I think the other thing though is it's there's a lot of smart choices that get made with that world building, right? They can't go back again. They are, somewhere different now, and there's no spaceship back. You know what I mean? And so I think the other thing that's really smart about it is they have, the sort of switch over to, oh, well, I guess we live on the ice planet now. You know what I mean? It happens pretty fast, and I'm not mad about it. Am I mad about other things? We'll get to it. Not mad. There was one part where I was oh, but every time I'm you've already mentioned it. Maybe I could just talk about, I really wanted her to have a bath before, he went down on her. But you know what?
Yeah.
It's fine.
For a long, long time, everybody, this was referred to as that book with poop cunnilingus for me. I would tell people, I'd be you're going to love it. You get through the poop cunnilingus part.
Correct. Okay. So now you know, everybody.
Listen, that's how good it is I got through the poop cunnilingus part.
And that
I mean,
would have been
also,
a deal breaker for you. Yeah.
everybody listening who knows anything about me is like, Sarah, of course you did. You heard that and you were like, I'm going to get that book. Not because I was intrigued by that concept, but because I was like, now listen, how could somebody write that into a book and also make me want to read more?
Sure, exactly.
And in fact, she did. So let's get into it. So,
well, you kind of have given the
gave
plot,
you the
right?
sort of,
yeah.
That's the tee up, right? I gave you the tee up. So Georgie, our heroine, is like, traipsing through Ice Planet, which she refers to as not Hoth.
Yeah, right.
Because it's like Hoth in Star Wars, but it's not Hoth.
Yeah. Now, I will say one other thing. The other smart thing is the book puts all of the other women she crash landed with, like she leaves them in right? Like they're injured enough that they can't like walk with her, or they can't go with her. So she has to go out on her own, right? They're all just...
She's the only one able to whatever. There's also like some number of women in pods.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Like it's all very, I think Ruby was sort of like, I need a lot of women to crash on this island.
Listen, what I love is like a regular romance author is like, okay, it's going to be 3 friends. And Ruby Dixon was like, how about 25, you bitches?
She's like, I know what needs to happen.
Right? I am going to put so many women in this hold.
Because the other thing is this book is not long, and that's good because it shouldn't be. It is very tightly plotted. It's very like clear. There's a clear, quick structure to it. So, she is so off Georgie goes, and then she gets into she meets her alien, right? Now listen, the alien and Georgie do not speak the same language. And this is where truly this is where the rubber meets the road for me for this book. And it is actually where I had a moment where I was like, Ruby Dixon is not brand new.
No.
Because
look at this genius.
It's dual POV, and the decision to do that is inspired. But when we are in the hero's point of view, he is he's like 8 feet tall.
Oh yeah,
and he is looking down at this when he refers to as like a flat faced, tiny pale creature with no hair on it, and she's like jabbering and all he can hear is like just noise coming from her, but he doesn't perceive it as language at all. And when Ruby writes the words, the dialogue, she writes Georgie sort of blathering at him, like just making sound. Yeah. And we as English speakers see the sound and understand what she's saying.
Right.
Even though the language and what's fascinating about it is, yes, obviously you could do obviously this is not like a complex thing to be able to do as a writer. However, I don't think you don't really slow down reading this. It's a very I didn't have to go back and sound anything out. It made perfect sense. She's so and this is where I was like, oh, this book is special. Something is going on in this book. I'm in the hands of somebody who really knows what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I also would like to say that the dialogue, it's just I laughed a lot when reading this.
Funny.
It's super fucking funny. And there's
very funny.
Because you're I don't know.
She also has this great way of thinking to her internal dialogue with herself.
Yeah.
When she's like, I really shouldn't be just letting this giant monster creature go down on me, but it's kind of nice.
Yeah, I mean, nothing else has gone right for me these past days or whatever.
I might as well.
Okay, so there's another part of the plot, though, that is interesting, especially to us, which is these are also fated mate stories. So,
yeah,
right? So the deal is okay, this ice planet is freezing, so cold. no one's going to school. No one is standing on the L platform. And the like band of like kind of the clan of survivors, right? Has recently experienced some kind of illness that has like swept through, and there's really only like young kind of men, like
Yeah, there are
hunters left.
4 women.
Yeah. And
3 of them are mated. No, two of them are mated. One of them isn't, and one of them is a child.
yes. So essentially the Vectel is the like our hero, and he's like their leader, and he understands that like realistically, like he's like they're the last band of survivors on this planet, and they won't survive because there's no way for them literally to like to do that, like mathematically speaking, right?
So a spaceship full of women,
Yes.
fertile.
You know, it's fate. So they have, in order to survive this like super cold climate, have a symbiotic sort of relationship with this thing they all call like the cootie, the women.
Yeah.
But it's like the cooey, I guess. And you essentially, they have to kill this huge animal, and then you pull these things out, and then like, you know, I don't know, you stick it in their ear or whatever, and they like, you know, and it keeps you warm, and it turns your eyes blue, and it's like, which is like a real romance thing. And, you know, and then you can survive the like freezing cold temperatures, but otherwise you're definitely going to die in this place.
Well, because there's also
Right? There's
something in the
else.
atmosphere
Right.
that's killing. Like you will get like
Like a
they sort of
sickness.
know you have, I don't know, 6 or 7 days, and then you're gonna die if you
Right.
don't have one of these things. And also that creaturey
Yes.
thing is how you know your fated mate.
Yes. So you will like resonate. Essentially, the cooeys will recognize each other, and then you'll sort of resonate, and that will be the way that you know. And you can't, there's no undoing that, because now this is all, by the way, everybody, it's like real. If you're not like into gender essentialism, right? This might not be for you, but
Yeah.
if it, essentially the what Vectel describes her essentially at one point, you'll hear how that happens later, is you'll resonate with the thing that you're a good match for in terms of bearing children.
Mhm.
Now, what's interesting to me is it's not really clear if this is like a secondary talent of these things. Like, we understand this is what you really need. Like, we're going to keep you warm, and we're going to do whatever. We're also going to help you do this because that's how you're going to survive in this place. But, you know, that's the deal. Like, right? Like, you're going to resonate with like the man in this case, like the alien, the hunter, who's going to be your best bet at getting knocked up. And so the whole thing here is really tied into like fertility and, you know, like growing this band of small band of survivors of aliens together, etc. But I didn't really mind it. I feel like as long as you know going in that that's what it's doing.
I mean, it's a type of book.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
You don't go into this for not this.
This week's episode of Fated Mates is brought to you by the Wild Rose Press, publishers of Simplicity by the Sea by Jennifer Vito.
So our heroine, Delaney Huger, has been a high-powered marketing executive in the Virginia wine community for years. And she really loves that work. She feels rewarded by it. She makes a lot of money. She's very fancy. And she's just planning on a quick trip back to her hometown, Gull Island, for a wedding. Gull Island is in the low country Carolinas. And she starts to slow down because that's what everybody does there. And she starts to really question the life she's built and what comes next. And what comes next, Jen, is Charter Captain Luke Sullivan, who has built himself a very quiet, very predictable, very small town life on Gull Island, where he's raising his daughter as a single dad and growing his business. But when he hits this wedding and Delaney Huger is there, she's pretty captivating, and she's stirring something in him that he thought he had long buried, making him wonder if he also has a new beginning in his future. And maybe these two crazy kids will chart a new course toward love.
I love it. So if you would like to check out Simplicity by the Sea, it is available right now in print and ebook. And if your podcasting app supports it, you can click on the chapter title right now to be taken to buy the book. Thanks to the Wild Rose Press and Jennifer Vito for sponsoring this week's episode.
There are some really clever choices that are made here. So basically, this book, so there are, I don't know, 20 maybe Ice Planet Barbarians books now.
Oh, I mean, it's 20.
There are spin-off stories too,
Yeah,
and
and
other
then-
planets and like all sorts of things. But like, I think the core group is like, I don't know, 16 or 20. And the interesting thing about this is that you sort of when you start with Ice Planet Barbarians, you sort of tear through the first however many, and then you're like, well, how many of like, how is she going to expand this, right? Like, how many more versions of these two are resonating to each other on a kind of deserted planet can there be? And I think what's really interesting and the way that she answers that question, aside from ultimately she does expand the planet, they explore, they find other parts of the planet, like there's a whole thing over the course of the series. But Ruby has a very like great talent of holding the reins really tight on a story. So the instinct in the hands of, I think, a lesser monster romance, alien romance author would be to let Georgie kind of explore this community, this society, this like space and see more. But instead, like Ruby really keeps the walls like very tight around the crashed ship, which is like a day's walk from the cave where the community of barbarians live. And then there is this sort of sense, and the structure of the book is very simple. Georgie and Vectel meet. They fuck. He's basically like, you're my mate. You're going to die within 7 days if you don't get this thingy.
Yeah.
She's like, but wait a second. I want a choice. And he's like, cool. Let's just do it more. And then you decide. And then, they go back to camp.
Yeah.
Because he needs to find a bunch of warriors.
Yeah.
Right? To go and hunt this beastie.
Yes.
To get 25, not 25. It's like 11 of these like cootie things. Then they go back to the girls on the ship. And like, it's all very kind of tightly confined to that world. Like the actual way he carries her everywhere. She's like a backpack, like, because she's so little and he's so big. And so I think there's a lot. And then I think what she really did is and this is such for the writers who listen, I know like sometimes I get in the weeds about the writing of a series, but often, like, the biggest pitfall in writing a series is you put too much on the page in the early books.
Yeah, and then you're
tied
to it.
Stuck.
Yeah.
You're like, well, I don't know what to do. This book has to be like it. Like, I can't change where he lives or like how the structure of the world is or whatever. And so, what Ruby really does is she answers every question with a very like tight, like easy, the most elegant of answers. So, for example, a lot of information has to get out about, like, we as readers, right, have tons of questions. What is this planet? Who are these people? How does it work? Why is everybody getting sick? Like, we have a ton of questions. She does not speak the language of these creatures.
Right.
So, like, how are we going to get those answers without it being a massive info dump on the part of the hero? And they sleep overnight in what he refers to as like the cave of
the
his,
elder
like,
cave,
elders.
Right? Yeah.
But and so they're like, and they're like laying on, I don't know, they're doing it. And she's like, I see lights. And he's like, oh yeah, those are the stars. And she's like, no, you dummy.
This is a fucking ship.
She's like, this is a spaceship. And he's like, what's a spaceship? And I mean, this is one of those great moments in romance and like a real callback to old school romance where like he has brute strength on his side, but she's the brains of the operation.
Correct.
Right. And she turns on this ship, and this ship very cleverly is able to teach you a foreign language
Just by like,
instantly.
right? Like
It gives you a headache.
like Keanu Reeves in The Matrix, like, I know Kung Fu, right? It's like that. I mean, I think she even like falls over, right?
Yeah.
One of the things I found myself thinking is a lot about world building, which everybody, I'm sorry to admit, have usually very little patience for. It's typically why I like sci-fi more than fantasy generally. Because I am always just kind of like, okay, so it's space, it's fine, right? I don't really need to think that much about, kind of creating all that world. Like this alien can just do that, great. And it's not to say that there isn't world building in sci-fi, but I feel like you can really like cut some corners where in fantasy, I think you really are having, I respect the game of a fantasy writer because I think they have way more things they're considering. So it's kind of like Ruby, I think, is really saying like, okay, there's a couple things I need to like solve. I need to solve a couple problems in order to get people to like believe in this. And it starts off with one of the women who has been kidnapped has been given some sort of translator device right from the jump. And so it really is seeding the reader with the idea that this technology exists. And we understand that like somehow, everyone is going to have to, get some sort of translator chip installed, right? So it's like right from the beginning, we're sort of told, okay, like this is technology that exists. Don't, and then I can like sort of not worry about it. I can just enjoy.
Don't worry about it. It's not your business.
Right. I can just enjoy, Georgie being like, what the fuck is this? Right.
And this ship is also like, it's like, as you know, Bob. Right?
Yeah.
Which is like shorthand for those of you who don't know, like they're, on TV often, like there will be a moment where a character says, well, as you know, this building that we're in every day,
right.
Works in this interesting way. And it's to tell the viewer, right? We call that as you know, Bob. And this ship is there so that when Georgie has a question, for example, like, who are these creatures? Yes. Where did they come from? The ship is like, well, let me tell you, this, the biological name of these creatures is such and such, and they came from this many parsecs away, and they crash landed here, and now this is all there is, and so all of a sudden you're just like, oh, it's like being information is just washes over you like a soothing wave.
There also is like a really brilliant way in which is playing around with like how an outsider has questions that an insider never considers. Mm-hmm. Right? Vectel, this is just his people. This is where they live. This is, he can think back however many generations. This is just who they are. And Georgie is the first person to be like, how'd they get here? And Vectel's like, wait, what do you mean? What do you mean? This is where my people came from. What? And so I think that's the other thing that's like really brilliant about the book is when you put a new, like the fish out of water, right? Which is Georgie onto the ice planet. It can be a bit of a drag to have that person constantly not knowing or right. And so to put her in the position of like learning things about him that he didn't know.
Yeah.
Right? I think
it puts her, she's the brains of the operation.
Right,
like,
exactly.
She's just, from the beginning, Georgie is a very clever character. Like, she gets on this, this ship. She's abducted into this ship. We actually don't really know anything about the world what she came from. Like
Florida. You know what I mean?
She wakes up, she's like, well, it might be better than Florida. And like, that's, and that's that. And then, and the other characters on the ship are all, they all have their own sort of very distinct there are distinct personalities, but Georgie automatically becomes like leader.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because she's one of the last people to join
to be
the group.
Right.
And she's sort of like, well, why are we just like tolerating this? Like, why aren't we fighting? Why aren't we whatever? Like, she has a real fire to her.
Mm-hmm.
And then there is this kind of she, when they land and she's the one who goes out, and then, she meets him and she's the one who's like asking questions, pushing him. She's always reminding him, even before she speaks his language, like, we have to go back up to the ship. Like, I've left. She's very aware of like the women she's left, like the world that she has,
the promises she's made.
She is the protector of this group.
Yeah.
She's a very compelling heroine because, again, like, the instinct, I think, for a lot of authors in this exact situation would be to make her like weaker.
Yeah.
And she is so strong.
Right.
And then it makes sense, of course, that like she resonates with
the leader,
chief of the clan. Right. So ultimately we know that Georgie and Vectel will take care of everybody. Like, they are on the same path. They walk the same path. And I think the other thing that's really interesting, and I wonder a lot about whether this is because Ruby was in charge of this book, right? Like, I knew, like, she was going to put this out. It was going to be self-published. She could put as many as she wanted out, right?
Yeah.
So she starts laying really interesting breadcrumbs right from the beginning. Like, there is no hesitation here of like, will I get another contract? I don't know.
Right.
Like, she starts talking, like, she lays enemies out who like we never see over the course of this book, but we expect to, or we see them, we get a glimpse of them, but we like know they'll return, they'll come back in a later.
The bad aliens, you mean? Yeah.
Those like monkey creature things.
Well, there's like the bad aliens who crash landed.
Left.
Yeah.
And it's like, and somebody says like they're gonna come back for us.
Right.
They don't come back during this book.
Sure, but like that's hanging out there, and then on the planet themselves, they're sort of like the monkey like creatures, Mechlex or something, right? And so like there's dangers in the world as well, of course.
Yeah, but like she doesn't concern herself with like putting those things. These are Chekhov's guns for
later
the
books.
Series. They're not Chekhov's guns for this episode.
Right.
And in that sense, it makes me think of, and I wonder, there are a lot of questions that I have for Ruby Dixon. I don't know her, but if I ever got a chance to speak with her, I have a lot of questions. And one of the big questions is, and I don't think this will resonate with you, Jen, but for people who are listening, who have watched the show Firefly, I often think like, is Ruby a Firefly fan? Because the kind of laying of the seeds of the Reavers in Firefly, which are like the big bads of these like terrifying, very, very scary like villains in the context of that series, who you almost never see, right? I think you only ever see their faces one time. Feels very much like what Ruby's doing here. Like, she has these kinds of, this instinct to like drop a villain or drop a bad character or a sort of scary
creature,
ominous, how about that? An ominous thing.
Right.
And then just like let it sit there.
And
someday we'll get back to it. And we do. We always come back to it.
Right.
But I think this is a world that there's a fearlessness to this book and to the whole series that comes from, I think, being able to be in charge of the whole thing, soup to nuts.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I think that the other thing that I really, so like the plotting of it is like so tight and so pleasing and so fun, but it's also, I don't know, there's a way in which like, so it's interesting because like that first scene on the spaceship, like I said, it's dark, it's scary, it's honestly really like intense, right? Like one of the women is dragged away and like there's some bad aliens who sexually assault her, and they all like, are terrified to speak for like, they're gonna be essentially singled out. I mean, so it's really scary. And then once they like land on the planet, it's almost like there's like almost like a sitcom-y kind of like vibe to a lot of like what's going on, right? So there's like an ongoing bit where Vectel keeps bringing her food. She's just like, fire.
Yeah, you gotta
right?
cook that shit.
Cook that shit. And, you know, and he's like, in his point of view, like, why does she want me to ruin this food?
He keeps saying it when he finally describes the best moment. One of the best scenes in this whole book is when he describes humans to the rest of the aliens.
Right.
And he's like, and one of the things he says is, they only eat food when you've cooked the flavor out of it. This week's episode of Fated Mates is sponsored by Blue Box Press.
Hey, are you looking for your next happily ever after, Sarah? Just open the blue box.
Oh, clever.
That's their website doing the job for me.
That's them being clever.
It is them being clever. So everybody, Blue Box Press published 1001 Dark Nights, and now that they've closed that sort of imprint, they're doing some really fun new refreshes for 2026. So we're talking about a couple of cool things you can check out this week. So Jennifer Armentrout has special edition paperbacks of her Blood and Ash series. These are coming out with sprayed edges and embossed and glossy cover design elements. For those people that already love that series, you can just get some fun new prints of them, fun new reprints. And then we have Donna Grant's Dragon King series is going to be re-released with new content under the Blue Box Press label, as is Heather Graham's Crew of Hunter and Cafferty and Quinn series. So this will also have like some fun new reprints, new content, sort of everything you can do to like just like get a fun refresh on some of these authors that you really love from the Blue Box Press family.
Blue Box Press publishes contemporary romance, paranormal romance, romantasy, and romantic suspense, so they really can deliver on whatever you are in the mood for romance-wise. You can find more information about all of these books and the other books from Blue Box Press at their website, theblueboxpress.com. That's theblueboxpress.com. And if your podcasting app supports it, you can click on the chapter title right now to be taken there to check out these books. Thanks to Blue Box Press, Donna Grant, Jennifer Armentrout, and Heather Graham for sponsoring this week's episode.
Like thematically speaking, there's like a lot of big things Ruby Dixon is like taking on and like discussing, right? So like one is of course about like freedom, right? Like literally like what is it you're free to do or not do, both for both of them. And it's like, you know, the responsibility you have to yourself, like the things you want versus the responsibility to your people, right? And then I think like another big part of it though is like as the books go on, especially the first like 5 or 6, what you get is like, okay, each individual love story is really set against the expanding like way the community has to change in response to these new members, all of whom have very different ideas about what it means to live a good life.
Correct.
Right? And it's truly fascinating.
Yeah.
Right? It really, really is. And it starts off with the small stuff, right? About like, you know, what I like to eat versus what you like to eat. But once they can all speak each other's language, like, right, like there's these caves that they live in that are like warmer and they like rapidly outgrow, right, like sort of the caves and have to like sort of create like a spin-off society. And, you know, it's really interesting. It's like each time it's like a little bit of a different, I don't know, like, okay, now I'm going to put this pin in motion. Now I'm going to put this one in.
Yeah. And always with the sort of a fated mate story that cannot, you know, I talk a lot about that Pamela Palmer series whenever we talk about fated mates, right? Because there's, you know, Pamela Palmer wrote this series. The first book was called Desire Untamed. Feral Warriors, I think, was the name of the series. And I love the first book in this series because the concept is it's all fated mates, right? Like it's a group of men, again, a lot of sort of gender essentialism in these, but a group of males and one woman who channels the sort of paranormal energy to they all have power.
Okay.
They're all shifters and they all have power, but like there's one woman in the who is in every generation, and she's like essentially the battery for all of their power, and she gains her power from being mated to one of these warriors, right? And they fuck and she gets powerful. Great, fine, no notes. But one of the reasons why I really love that book is because she's like, there's one sort of activated in every generation. The prior one dies. This lady's just like living her life in the suburbs of DC. And in comes a lion shifter, and he's like, "You're our next battery." And she's like, "Oh, okay." And then she goes with him. He basically like packs her up and takes her, to where they live, and they mate. Like he's like they are feral for each other on the way back to the thing, and he's like, "We're definitely mates. Like, there's no question. Like, the way that I feel about you, the way my body responds to you, like, we're mates. It's we just have to go through the ceremony it's like paperwork." And they go through the ceremony, and she's actually mated to a different man in the group, right? Okay. And like, there's this sort of like shattering moment. And the reason why I bring this up is because I really love that push-pull of fated mates. Like, there's that Kate Sewell's one where it's like the rejected mate one. And like, I love, we are fated mates, but it isn't working. Yeah. And how do we get around that? Like, and what does that mean? And how do we stay together? Do we, what is the push-pull of it? And I think that this like resonance in this case, in Ice Planet Barbarians, the book, these two are resonating for each other. They are hot for each other. It all works out. That's not a hurdle. Right. The hurdle for this is Georgie going to choose this, or is she going to spend the rest of her time on this planet, possibly forever, trying to get back? Yeah, right. And to what, But I think like Ruby finds all the different permutations of fated mates in these books. Yeah. And like there are ones where like they don't like each other. Yes. And what does that mean? Yeah. And how do we change, like how do we make, I think last week we had Jane Ann Krentz on and she talked about like how shotgun weddings like really are like you and me against the world. Like you have to learn how to work together in order to survive like the marriage in those books. And I think this gets to that same push-pull. Like if our like creatures say it's us, right? How much freedom do we have to argue? Yeah. Right. And as you said, I think almost all of the women in these books are like, I have all the freedom. Like I come from freedom. Yeah. Yes. And the men are like, we need a society. Like you. Yeah.
Listen, I had a great time reading this book, but I would not say like the first one is like my favorite. Right. Like, and I think like I'm interested then in. And listen, I don't even know that I've read them all. You know what I mean? Like I
have not read all of them now, but I have read the first like 10.
Yes, I would agree, but I didn't read them all for this. But there are ones that are like I lean more towards, and I think it's really interesting because one of my favorites is one where essentially hold on, I'm like, I looked this up because I wanted to like know the right title. And then of course I forgot. One of the things that I think is really interesting is like kind of like, what's your favorite? Like, I wonder if it could be like almost like a mood ring. Like your favorite is the one that says something about you. Okay, so Sarah mentioned earlier that there was like kind of women in pods. So basically what we find out is that the bad aliens who'd been kidnapping people were only supposed to take a certain amount of women, but they like realized that they could double dip. And so they had a bunch of women who were kind of loose and then other ones in these pods. And so at some point, these women go back and are like, okay, by the way, we're kind of keeping a little fun secret from you, which is that there's a bunch more of these women who have been like in stasis, right? And one of my favorites then is that there's these two sisters who had been sort of in stasis, and Maddie and like Lila. And Maddie had always been Lila's protector. I think Lila was the one who maybe had like couldn't hear as well, had like a disability. And her sister like essentially finds her mate first, and then Maddie is kind of like, but wait, I don't know how to be in the world if I'm not Lila's protector, and I'm not the one who, right? Like I've always been the one who figured it out first, and Lila was behind me, and now it's opposite here, and she's really kind of a mess. And meanwhile, her mate Hassan is the one who essentially like tried kidnapping someone.
Yep.
Lots of, because he was so desperate for a mate.
You gotta have, listen,
right?
There are only so many, as I said, there are only so many versions of this story.
Right. And he has been essentially outcast. He has to still hunt on behalf of the clan, but he himself is not like welcome anymore until he like makes restitution for what he did. And then these two go off on an adventure together. And I really like, this is one of my favorites because I think it really speaks to the idea of like, okay, so what do you do if you're the outsider in this tightly knit group of people, and you fuck up so badly that they're like, get out on the ice planet.
Yep.
I was super into it, right? And so there are some that are just really more fun for different and fun, right?
So my favorite is actually, I realized I've read a lot more of these than I thought, because my favorite is number 17.
Okay.
And it's Barbarians Seduction. And you can hear me talk about this. Is the book I chose. I was on Ice Planet Pod with Danny, and she said, pick whatever book. And I was like, it's number 17. And listen, here is why, because I like to obviously edge myself pretty bad in romance. And in this book, in Ice Planet Barbarians, when they get the group of aliens to go, or barbarians to go back to the ship to rescue the women, there is a throwaway line where all the men are like standing around and the girls are all like coming out, and one of them resonates, and Vexel turns around, and because Georgie has basically been like, hang on a second.
Yeah, right.
If we bring all these assholes up there to this place where these girls like don't know anything about what's going on, they're going to think it's open season, and it's not. Like, that's not happening. And Vexel, of course, and I want to come back around to heroes and like how Ruby like writes this particular kind of hero. Vexel is like, absolutely not. You are in charge, Georgie, of like how this all goes.
Sure.
Like, obviously no one is allowed to touch any of these women until like without consent. And it's like articulated in a very clear way. So they get up there, and they're all like, all these big blue dummies are standing around, and the door opens, and like out come all these like women who haven't showered. It's fine, and Vexel hears, somebody is resonating, like, and he turns around and he's like, who's resonating? And then immediately it stops. So I guess you can like control it.
Sure.
And so, and nobody cops to it, right? And then 17 books later, we meet Marlene and Zenek. And this is the one. So Marlene was on the original ship, obviously. And she's like, she is probably the girl who is most forward. Mm-hmm. Like, she is like, she's very happy, genuinely like a kind of like positive person, loves sex, and is like, sees Zenek kind of, who is the most introverted, quiet, like lives on the edge of the tribe. And she aims for him. And it turns out that he has been resonating to her since the moment he saw her.
I don't know if I've read this one.
And you won't like it because he's a virgin.
Well, I mean, Sarah. I mean, I'm willing to like cut the man some slack since there literally are no ladies for him to be with.
I guess that's true.
It does seem a
Actually,
little bit different.
you might like it because it does sort of ring true to the like that. What's it? Demon
From the dark, right?
from the dark. Malcolm.
I'm willing to
In
give this
Immortals
man a
After Dark.
pass. I mean, I guess some virgins must exist on the ice planet. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. So he's a virgin and also he's like shy and quiet and he doesn't like ever he does not make waves. And she's basically like, it's you. And he's like, it is me.
Amazing.
And it's actually very cute. She's also French, which is fun because, like, again, it's sort of this like these girls came from all over the planet, so they can't all be Americans,
right?
Anyway, I really like that one, Barbarian Seduction, and I think that there is something very like fun about diving into a world. You know, obviously, we started this podcast to talk about a paranormal world.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely like every, the bigger the paranormal series get, the broader the worlds. But it feels like what happens in this series is it really does broaden. Like they turn a corner in this series and like, boom, there's a whole other tribe of people that they didn't know existed because they never left their cave far enough to try until these women came and showed them. Like, and sort of force them to do that, to like take the risk of adventure.
Yeah.
And I love that for this series. I think this series does it. I think Ruby is really she is really twisting the paranormal archetypes in a really interesting way. Like, these heroines are very strong, largely. And the heroes, and this is where I want to get back to, Vectel is built like an old school romance hero. He's the like chief of his clan.
Yes.
Right? Like
I want to do is save them.
Yeah. We've seen this before, except he is so gone for her so quickly. And like in such a really like innocent, trusting way. Like the thing vibrates, and so this is it. Like, I don't know. I've never seen one of these flat-faced, naked, like hairless things before, but
he is under a bush, though.
Yeah, and that's when he describes it. When he describes
a cute
them,
little like tuft of hair or something,
and a third nipple.
He's like, "What does this thing do?"
And when he describes it to all the other men, it's really gives it's giving in Sleepless in Seattle when Tom Hanks says to Rob Reiner,
want me to do it to her.
Yeah, someone's gonna want me to do tiramisu to her, and I'm not gonna know what it is. Like, it really feels
really does. That's true.
Like that. Anyway, point is, there is a moment kind of, I don't know, halfway through where they have like this, they're inside the Elder Cave and she's just figured out like she's asking the cave questions, and the ship is telling her like this is the story. And this is when she really realizes like if she accepts this the Kui and accepts him, like that's the end of everything she's known. Like everything starts fresh again in this moment, right? And she's having a kind of understandable crisis of life, right? And he's like, you have to stay. Like, and in his head, he's like, you have to. Like, we're partnered. Yeah. Like, you're here. There's no leaving. Like, you stay now, and we love each other.
Right.
And she's like, but I don't know you, and I don't know this place, and this isn't my home, and, all the things. And Ruby in that moment, like this is built, right? It's classic built. It's built structurally exactly like old school romances, right? And in that moment, we're in his head, which is exactly where we should be.
Yeah.
And he says to us, right? Well, he would go with her.
Right.
Like, that's it. Like,
that's it.
I mean, if she leaves the planet, he's leaving with her, and God knows what's out there, but
that's the way it has to go, right?
That's how it is. Like, if she chooses to leave, he'll leave with her. And it's like so fresh, which of course now everybody listening who's started reading romance in the last 5 years is like, what are you talking about? It's so fresh. It is. In
It was, yeah, right.
This was really fresh. Like a hero who didn't have to be put through the ringer to discover this about. Like, listen, in 2015 or in, prior to that, the heroes always ultimately come to this moment. If you leave, I leave with you. Like what you want is more important than anything I could possibly want or need, right? But that's endgame in earlier romances. And in this, like Ruby really starts the work. I think this is not, and obviously it's not the first book, it's not the only book, but it is a book where she really lays it on the table that he is going to sacrifice for her. He'll do whatever it takes. And it's not even going to be difficult for him.
Right, yeah.
And there's something very cool about that and I think that's why these monsters, and I mean, alien romance, monster romance really started to boom after this series happened. And we've talked a lot about how monster romance and paranormal romance are not the same, right? They do not live on the same branch of the tree.
Right.
Though I think a lot of people think they do. And that is because like in paranormal, the heroes are monsters.
Right.
And in Monster, they look like monsters.
Right.
But they are actually heroes.
Right. No, I think that's exactly right. Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that's also really interesting about this series, right, and this book in particular maybe is I was really interested in, I don't know, like, so there's a one of the other women is named Liz, and she is essentially like kind of like Georgie's second. You know what I mean? Like she's the one who, when Georgie first wakes up is the one who's sort of like, don't make any noise, and like is kind of telling her what's going on. And she's the one who essentially tells Georgie, like, kind of like, what do you mean you don't know why you're the leader? You're the one who is coming up with a plan and not afraid to like sort of pursue it. And I think it really also speaks to one of the things that I always have really loved about romance in a series, which is that you can show off characters for their strengths without having to make them all the same. Right. And so like Liz is the one who like recognizes like George, like, right. Like kind of recognizes what Georgie's up to. And in particular, essentially, they're going to like try and it's the very way back at the very beginning. They're going to sort of try to escape the alien pod. Like, right. Georgie has come up with a whole fucking plan. And just as they go to like implement it, the ship like sort of crashes, right? So they kind of have a sense of what's going on. It really reminded me a lot of, in some ways, like the what did we call it? Right? What did we call it for IAD? Like Monster Island? No, what were we calling
Torture
it?
Island.
Torture Island, right? Like she's like, we're going to get out of here. And she has a whole plan. And a lot of the other women have told her that they're going to be a part of it. And yet when like push comes to shove, she sort of really realizes she's alone.
Yeah, they don't have the level of bravery that she
does, right? Or like the level of like, listen, our lives are over anyway. So why not take this chance?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, also, do you feel a little bit there? I want you to keep going, but I want to say here, do you feel like that's a little bit, again, very clever characterization, because I think it comes partially from Georgie hasn't been on this ship as long as everybody else.
Yeah.
She hasn't seen the shit that they have all seen.
Right.
I mean, she's seen some shit. Like those first couple chapters, there's some very dark stuff in there.
Yeah, there really is. And I think that is, but I think like that's almost in some ways what we see is that inspires her rather than shuts her down. Like she's right. That's the part where she's like, listen, our lives are over anyway. So
it's the horror movie. If you're going to go out fighting.
Yeah. Right. Like, it's like, I'm the final girl, only it's the beginning of the book. Now what?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think, like, the part I like is, like, Liz, I think, is her, like, sort of counterpart who, like, Liz essentially is injured. That's why, like, Liz doesn't go out. Like, once they crash land, like, doesn't go with her. Liz is like, I'm going to stay back and try and keep everybody calm here. But there's this great part at the end where, like, I'm pretty sure Liz's book must be next. Where she sort of says, like, sort of talks about how she was like an archer when she was in high school. And she really is like, when all of the other hunters are hunting this big thing, she's kind of like, I wish I had a bow and arrow. And you realize, like, oh, okay. So, like, what Georgie has is like the smarts and I don't know, like the bravery, but what like Liz is going to have is like actual hunting skills, right? Kira is the one I think who has like like already that like those first 6 women all have like something very distinctive that we can see is like going to play a part in like their romance. And what I was sort of expecting is like, okay, well, in book number 2, Liz is going to want to be a hunter, but they're not going to let her because she's a girl. You know what I mean? And then like, well, what's going to happen to not only their expectations, but ours as readers? Right. And I think that's why your Vectel point made me think of this. Like, we've seen this character before. We've seen characters like this before. What happens when they like run up against, the rules of a society that they don't belong to? Will they be able to like, right? I mean, and I think that's why like the book is so genius in a way, right? Like, I don't need to see Liz get shut down by like all the bad dudes at the archery station. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Exactly. No, we don't. And we don't see it. We don't see any of that stuff.
No, because the desperation of this small surviving band of aliens is such that all they want to do is survive. They are not willing to cling to their rules in order to do that. Right. And I loved it. I loved it.
Liz's book is next.
Yeah.
She is mated to Rahash, who is the like scarred,
yes,
secret, silent Sarah McLean bait in
book 2.
The book. It's possible that now listen, it's possible it was Rahash who was resonating in that crowd. Because I'm sure multiples were resonating in that crowd.
Well, it is also interesting. Like, one of the other things that happens is in the first couple books, not only did they come out fast in terms of like their release date for readers, but like the events of those books were all really tight.
Yep. Yeah. The second book begins. She runs when they catch the animal to do the
get the cooties.
The cootie. She runs because she doesn't want a parasite.
Yeah.
And he follows her because he knows they're mated.
Yeah. And I think like then there's a point where like it kind of slows down.
Then it has
right?
to.
Yeah.
And like there's a whole thing that this is spring. Like at some point she drops like, oh, you're in spring on this ice planet. So we know like ultimately there's going to be it's going to get worse.
It's like
the conditions are going to be worse. And there is like a whole one where they're like trapped in the cave in the snow and they have to fight those little animals. Like, I mean, you get a lot.
Yeah.
I was thinking, now with Heated Revelry and Bridgerton coming out, I have like adaptation in my head. And I was thinking about like Ice Planet Barbarians. What does this look like? And then I was like, I actually think this is not a book that could be adapted easily because I think everything about it is so bananas,
Right.
Like it lives better in my head.
Yeah, well, exactly. I think the thing that is really fun about Ice Planet Barbarians, though, too, is I've been thinking a lot about like what it means when we say that something is like an interconnected standalone. And I think like the amazing thing about these books is you really could like just pick one up and figure out where they are on like the journey to like creating this new society together. But, there's not really like you could really just do whatever you want, everyone. Like read whichever ones you want, whichever ones sound good to you. Because, like the world is sort of being built quietly in the background. But whoever is like on the main stage really does take up all of the energy. And I think that it's just a really fun series.
It is very fun. It's very fun. So Ruby Dixon has written many, many of these and a number of other books as well. Yeah. And so if you have never read a Ruby Dixon book, we can assure you that they are very fun.
They are super fun, yeah.
If you are an Ice Planet Barbarians fan and you didn't know about Ice Planet Pod, you still can. It does not, Danny does not release new episodes, but it does still exist. You can still listen to the early episodes of that podcast.
Well, and what was really fun about that podcast is she had a different guest every time.
Yeah.
So it was really like a kind of like who's who of romance in some ways. Some people were authors, some people were just readers, some people were reviewers. And so like there was a whole sense of like really getting like all the different takes also on like these books and what was happening with them. So yeah, it's really fun.
Yeah, I'm looking now to see who it really is of a time.
Oh yeah.
Melinda from Romance Sparks Joy.
Oh, rest in peace, Melinda.
Erin from formerly of Heaving Bosoms. Melody of Heaving Bosoms. You, me. Jenny from Wicked Wallflowers.
Yeah.
Katrina Jackson. I mean, it really is like 1999
right?
I'm sorry, 2019, 2020. It's like a who's who of who was talking about romance then. Fun Me.
Oh yeah.
So this is a fun. It's it'll be a blast from the past for some of you, and it will definitely be a fun listen for those of you who like the deep dive episodes.
Okay. We have decided on our next read along, although it will be a while from now.
We have.
I mean, I'm just saying,
apparently
but like,
we have.
Typically we don't necessarily like.
Oh, we have.
Yes. Sarah, I was like, why do you act like you don't remember, Sarah?
Because I didn't remember, but now I do.
Okay, it's Sincerely Your Inconvenient Wife by Julia Wolf will be our next read along. This is part of the of a series called The Harder They Fall, and we talked about the third one. P.S. You're Intolerable on New Year's Milk and Eve. And Sarah and I both kind of like just read a bunch of Julia Wolf's books afterwards.
I immediately went and I mainlined the whole series.
Yeah.
And I had a great time.
Yeah. And so this one is the one that like
this is my favorite.
Yeah, it's your favorite. And so we're going to be talking about that probably in March is my guess. I don't think it will really be anytime soon.
Yeah, it'll be a little while. We have some Trailblazers coming up. Don't forget, everybody, it's almost Derek Craven Day. So it's time to be buying those gifts for your Derek Craven Day partners. That's next week. Important.
You know what? I feel like it's like get your eyes checked. I don't know. Go to the eye doctor.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, that's good. It's like when to change the batteries in your smoke detector. Maybe Derek Craven Day is when you change the batteries in something else.
Sure.
Anyway, that is coming up next week. We have a fun thing planned for that. And I don't know, more fun things as we go.
Yeah, of course.
But we hope you're all staying safe out there. And we mean that in all ways. And if you are still under snow or under ice, we hope you are staying warm and you have good books to read and you have all your devices charging. And yeah. I'm Sarah McLean. I'm here with my friend Jen Prokop. We are Fated Mates. You can find us absolutely every Wednesday, wherever you get your podcasts, or at fatedmates.net, where you can read show notes, where we put descriptions of the podcast, all the links to everything that we sort of reference in the podcast. This week especially, there will be lots of Minneapolis and Minnesota and Twin Cities references and organizations you can support there. We also list every week all the books that we talk about. So even the extra little books that we talk about this episode, you'll see in show notes there. And While you're there, you can also check out our collections, which are built by listeners and other authors, real human people putting together discoverability groups based on like microtropes and other things that people love. You can just click on collections when you go to fatedmates.net to read those. We are, as I said earlier in the podcast, online at Fated Mates Pod, at Threads and Instagram, and at Fated Mates on Blue Sky. Jen is all over Chicago and suburban Chicago through February. If you're in Philadelphia, don't forget that Heated Rivalry event on Valentine's Day, and the links to that and my event in Rhode Island in March will all be in show notes as well. So thank you so much. Thanks to everybody who's out there in the fight. We are with you in spirit, and doing our best from our armchairs at home. And yeah, take care of yourselves, everyone. We love you.